Here's another brief rundown of the standards library that I have made. I have made a few changes since then, or since last time I made the last video. So let's go ahead and go over them a little bit. So we're gonna make a new package, call it Tester 2, I guess. I don't know, I have so many projects in this workspace, it's not even funny. So go to libraries, external jars, that everything is updated on GitHub now. Use standards 2.0.jar. Very important that you use this one. Do not use any others. Make sure it has the 2.0 extension. As you'll see, it'll have everything right here, have all the files in, all the .class files and everything. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So, making a new class or whatever, if you really just want, it's a little bit bigger, because I can barely see it. First thing you want to do is extend standard game. That's the main thing you want to do. Import it, Control-Shift-O. And now, as you'll see, you have to make a constructor with 2 ints and a screen. The width, the height, and the title. Pretty simple. So just make sure you do that. But then you'll see another error. It says add unimplemented methods. You'll add the tick method and the render method. Now you may be thinking before you had to copy and paste the start, stop, the whole game loop, the tick and the render method, and even then you still had to do buffer strategy, bs equals this dot get buffer strategy, and you can still do that. It still does work, but with a lot of effort, well, not really, you don't have to do that anymore, which is amazing. So all you have to do is just call the main method. Well, make a constructor for your new game. Do standard game whatever equals new, then your subclass, then pass in a width. We'll do 500 and 340. Then we'll call it tutorial for library. Anything, it doesn't matter really what it is. So then just run it, and as you can see, it makes a window. And if you check the stats for it, it doesn't run at that much memory. It runs at about 42 megabytes, but it does use a pretty good amount of CPU power for powering the game loop and whatnot. But still, that's pretty good. All right. So next thing, we're gonna go over I'm actually gonna try and use a bunch of different sound effects, or I'm gonna try and at least do some things. Like I'm gonna try and get some sound and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get just a couple files. Just put them in here. Why not? Try that one too. Whatever. There we go. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to create a little object, and we're going to make it a standard fade object. Let's go ahead and open the standards library, and we'll go over that first. So I guess what we could also do is, is key listener in this? I don't think. No, it's not. Okay. Implements key listener. Actually, no, we can just do that later. I have no idea. So first thing I guess we'll do is we'll draw something to the screen. So renderer, or call renderer, which is basically just a graphics 2D object, just redefined as a different name instead of G2. Then we'll do fill oval. Call it that, I don't know. 40, and 100 and 100. I'm the hiccups, good lord. So then we'll also do render.setColor. Then we'll do standard fade.combine. Now, standard fade object, like stated before, well in the previous video, is an object that will fade from one color to the next. So to go ahead and instantiate it, this dot standard fade equals new standard fade. Standard fade. Pass it. The first color will pass it, I don't know. Actually, we'll do standard draw with this as well. So standard draw is just a bunch of colors, literally just a bunch of colors. That's all it is. So we can do cyber yellow and standard draw dot baby blue. How about that? Now you can use the basic colors for this. Just so you know, you can use like the color class. Just saying. Then we'll pass it a float for the time that it takes to shift from one color to the next. This should be between 0 and 1 inclusive, with numbers further away from 0.05 being non-seizure inducing. And you'll see what I mean by that. So let's run it. And there you go. It shifts between the colors. Now, if you make it really any faster than 0.05, you're probably going to get some seizures. So look away now if you don't want to have a seizure, look away now. 3, 2, 1. Alright. Pretty seizure inducing. Well, not really, but if you're prone to seizures, just be careful with that. So yeah, that's standard fade. Pretty simple. Let's see. Standard game objects. So these are also pretty simple, as I explained in the last video. You have a, I'll say, they're not there. We'll make a player class. How about that? New class. Make it player. And in here we can do browse, and then we can do standard game object. Not that, standard game object. There we go. And it'll automatically generate the methods. That's cool. So we'll make a player object, pass it int x, int y. Then we'll do super x, y. Then we need to pass it an ID, because every standard game object has an ID associated with it. There's a bunch of them generated, but I think you can extend the enum and make your own. So if you have to, just do that. But we're going to call it player because it is the player. So along with this, we have a width and a height for the object. So we'll do this dot set width, we'll make it 20. This dot set height 20. All right. So now for simplicity, we're going to implement the key listener. And we can Control-Shift-O. Basically, this will just show the just some of the things you can do with this, just to make it really simple. Okay. So we're going to set the x coordinate to whatever this dot set x to this dot get x plus this dot get val x. Okay. Now that is. What? Should work. No. Enclose the entire thing. There we go. Do the same thing for the y's. There we go. Set y. Alright, so for the render, we're just gonna do I think we could do render or no we couldn't. Never mind, I'm sorry. Because that's only actually could we do that? Dot render dot. Okay, that's interesting. I just now learned that. Okay, so just for simplicity's sake, we're just gonna do the same. We're just gonna use the graphics 2D object. We'll do graphics, or we'll do this dot. Let's do set color dot blue, whatever. Then we'll do g2 dot fill rect. Whoops. Fill rect. This dot get x, this dot get y, this dot get width, and this dot get height. Now, one thing you do have to make sure about when you're creating a standard game object is that if it has an image, you need to make sure you have the width and the height set, or if you're doing collision detection, you won't have any collision because there's no width and height set. But you can tell that by the get bounds method, and watch, we'll illustrate that right now actually. Let's do g2.setColor, color dot red, there we go. g2.drawRect, int this dot get x. Oh, come on. Int this dot get y, this dot get width, this dot get height. There we go. So, put a semicolon. So, now what we have to do is just add this to a standard handler. A standard handler is an array list of game objects that will render everything to the screen. So we'll do this dot standard handler equals new standard handler. Doesn't take any parameters. And then in your tick method in your game class, do this dot handler, or whatever it's called, handler dot tick. This will tick every object in in the object, like in the array list, because standard handler contains an array list, and if you do tick on the object, it will tick every standard game object within that class, or within that array list, in the object. Now we have to render it, so do this dot standard handler dot render, and then you can just pass it renderer. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it, and nothing's there. That's great. What did I do wrong? Oh, I'm dumb. I didn't actually add it to the handler. Yeah, so you have to make sure you do that. So first off, let's make an instance of it. Private player. Then we'll do this dot standard handler dot add player, add entity player. What? Oh, null pointer. Where? What? Stop. Where? Right there. Standard handler dot. Oh, God, why am I being retarded right now? This dot player equals new player. 300. I'll make it 200, 100. And that's it. Now it should work. There we go. So, let's pull up the magnifier. No, not Game Maker. Dang it. Let's go ahead and magnify. There it is on my other monitor. Oh, whoa. Alright. So as you can see, in here you'll have a little rectangle. And it will be whatever you ask it to be. Alright, so actually we'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll make it about 50 by 50. How about that? There we go. That's better. Alright, so now with key listener, well, basically, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and explain how to do key listener, but you just know, like, whenever you press up, down, left, or right, you'll do that. And then what you can do is, you can do this dot add key listener, then pass it player. Now, right now, it can't do anything, but it is listening for key inputs. So if you do, like, oh, I don't know, system.print line, e.get key code equals key event bk up, ternary operator up, and nothing if not. So it will tell you up if it is pressed. So this ternary operator, I'm not going to explain what that means, but basically condition, if it's true, prints this, if it's not, prints this. Pretty simple. Alright, so that's about a bunch of them done. Standard audio, I'm not going to go over that because, no. Particle I went over, Terrell I went over, window I went over. Window is pretty simple, just the window. You don't need to mess with it. It's already made in the game, in the standard game object. Don't need to mess with it. Do not mess with it. So just ignore it. Standard ops, it will. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's 10:19 as you can see. It will return a number between the two parameters passed, inclusive. So min, max, inclusive. Mouse over. This method is pretty good for determining if your mouse is in a rectangle. So let's say this entire screen is a rectangle. Right now, the mouse is not. You'll have the mouse coordinates mx and y. Let's say the mouse coordinate right now has a position. And let's say the box has a position. X, Y, top left corner, width, and height. So the box encompasses this entire window. The mouse will this method will determine if the mouse is within this area here. If it is, return true, which now it is. Else, return false. It's not. True, false. Alright, pretty simple. Init font, pretty simple. Just do font whatever equals init font, then pass it the path and then the size, or return a font ready to use. Pretty simple. Alright, so that's pretty brief, or that's a very fast explanation of the library. If you have any questions, I'll leave a comment or something, and I'll try and help you, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.